All right, subpart M, testing non-bulk packaging, non-bulk packages, packaging and packages. 178-600, purpose of scope. The subpart prescribes the certain testing of the requirements of the performance-oriented packaging and subpart L, the subpart 178-601, general requirements. Testing procedure for the prescribed the subpart intent with the ensure for the package for the contained with the hazard material. Just testing it for recording. All right. The hazard material will come with the normal condition for the transportation or consider the minimum requirements. Each package must be manufactured assembled as be capable of successfully passing with the prescribed and testing form with the points 178.3. 24 subchapter all the time. The transportation responsibility be responsible for packaging manufacturer sure that each of the packages is capable of passing with the prescribed temperature to the extent of the package assembly of the function, including final closure and perform permanence to offer for the hazard material of the transportation person responsible for performing the functions in accordance with 173.22, 178.2 with the subpart with the subchapter with the definition of the purpose of the subpart with the design qualifications or performance and tests described in 178, 603, 604, 605, 606, 607, 608, 609 is applicable to each of the new different packaging start production of the packaging. Periodic retesting performing by the drop of the leak roof, the hydrostatic pressure, the tag testing applicable to prescribed in 178, 603, 604, 605, 606. Respectively, frequency specified in paragraph E of the section for infectious substance packaging required to meet the requirements of 178.609. Periodic retesting of the performance of the testing specified in 178.609. Frequency specified in paragraph E of the section production testing and performance of the leak-proofness test of the prescribed in 178.604 with the subpart with each of the single packaging intended with the contained liquid. A different packaging with the one with the difference with the non-identical with the previously produced the packaging structural design side of the material of the construction wall thickness manner with the construction must not include packaging with the differs only with the surface treatment the combination packaging with the differs only with the outer packaging has successfully tested with the different inner packaging variety of such inner packaging when they assembly outer packaging without the further test of the packaging plastic packaging with the differs only with regard with the additive of the form 178.509B3 with the 178.517B4 and 5 of the SPAR combination packaging and the inner package of the form with the provision paragraph G with the section packaging with the differ from the design type of the lesser design height. Steel drum, the variation of the design element that do not constitute the different type of design type under provision paragraph G8 with the section design qualification type of the packaging manufacturer shall achieve with the successful test result of the design qualification testing start with the production each of the new different packaging periodic retest the packaging manufacturer must achieve with the successful test result of the periodic retesting and interval with the established with the manufacturer's efficient frequency to ensure packaging produced with the manufacturer is capable of passing the design qualification testing chain with the reset testing frequency with the subject with approval of the associated administrator that has material safety single positive packaging periodic retesting with the we conduct with at least once every 12 months for a combination package with the periodic retest with the condition at least once every 24 months the infection substance packaging with the periodic retest with the must be conducted at least once every 24 months test sample the manufacturer must conduct with the design qualification periodic testing is prescribed with the subpart with the random sample of the packaging number specified with the appropriate test section with the additional leak-proof test with the required the performance of each of the packaging produced by the manufacturer each of the packaging prior to reuse. Section 173.28 with the subchapter for the reconditioning. Selective testing packaging with a different only with the minor result respect with the test type permitted with the design with the section for all transportation packaging comply with the 173.27C1 and C2 with the subchapter. Selective testing and combination packaging variation 1 variations permitted with the inner packaging with the testing combination packaging without the further testing with the package of the provided with the equivalent level of performance maintained within with the package with the alter with the variation 1 out of the October 1st 2010 methodology determine the inner packaging with the include the closure maintained with the equivalent level of performance in documentate in writing of the person certified with complying with the paragraph that then pertain in accordance with the paragraph 1 of the section with the permitted with the variations 1 out 1 about inner package with the equivalent smaller size of the B with the A inner package with the similar with the design test of the inner packaging shape around a rectangular and material construct for the inner packaging glass metal with the metallic metal other resistant impact stacking forces with equal degree within the originally tested inner packaging. The inner packaging have the same with a smaller opening within closure in the same design. Sufficient additional conditioning material used to take up the voids of space for the preventing significant movement of the inner packaging. Inner packaging there are only with the outer packaging in the same mirror testing package for the gross mass for the packaging design. See the original tested lesser known but the testified inner packaging alternative type of the inner packaging found in paragraph G11 of the section may be with incision cushioning is or added to the fill void space to prevent significant movement in the inner packaging. Selective testing combination packaging variation 2 articles including inner package with any type of the solid liquids must be assembled and transported without testing with the outer package of the following conditions. Outer packaging must have a successfully tested 178.603 with a fragile glass inner packaging with a containing liquid paragraph group 1 over the drop height the total combined gross mass of the inner package of the main soup 1/2 of the gross mass of the inner packaging with the drop tip thickness of the cushioning material between the inner packagings and between the inner packaging with the outer side of the packaging may not be reduced below the corresponding thickness of the original test package with the singular inner packaging with the original test of the thickness of the cushioning between inner packaging must not be left within the outside of the packaging and the inner packaging. The original tip of either the small inner packaging or UV with this compared to the inner packaging. UV the drops of sufficient additional cushioning material must have to take up the voids. The outer packaging must have to successfully pass the sacking tip of the fourth and 178.606 part is empty without inner packaging with the cushioning material with the total man for the identical package that may be based combined by mass of the inner packaging. UV the drop over the tip of the inner packaging containing liquids must be completely surrounded with sufficient quantity of the absorbed material to absorb any entire liquid content of the inner packaging. With the inner outer packaging. The outer packaging of the intended containing inner packaging of the liquid does not leak proof. It is intended to contain inner packaging of the solid non-sift proof. The means of the containing liquid or solid content of the event of the leakage must provide with informed leak proof efficiency with the means of containment contaminant for the package of the containing liquid absorbent material. Required paragraph G25 of the section must be placed inside of the mean of the containing liquid contents. The packaging must be removed with according to 178.503 part of the has been tip of the package group 1 performance combination pack with the bank. Some of the mass must be not exceed some of the mass for the outer packaging plus for the 1/2 of the mass for the filled inner packaging test for the combination packaging. Additional marking of the required 178.503A2 of this part must include the letter V. Variation 3 of the packaging other than combination packaging which are done with the reduction external dimension length of the width dimension and diameter up to the 25% of the dimension of the tested packaging within with further with testing provided the equivalent level of performance maintaining the packaging must be in other receptacles including wall thickness, technical test design type marking growth mass when required to reduce the proportion of the reduction in the volume variation form with the performance with the outer package within a test design type of the combination packaging without further testing of the provided an equivalent level of performance maintained at the file with the external dimension length of the width of the height is left within error equal to the corresponding dimensions of the tested design type. This test structural design testing of the outer package of the mass for the construction material, the construction strength of the character of the material, construction method, the closure material thickness, and with the inner package with identical the inner packaging UV the test design type except for the side of the mass and by maybe less there are oriented with the outer package in the same manner tested packaging with the same type of design absorbent material cushioning material with the any other component the necessary with the containment of the protector inner packaging with the tested design with the maintain with the thickness for the cushioning material between the inner packaging packaging the outside of the packaging and have the left and thickness of the be tested design packaging the sufficient additional cushioning material to take up the voids of the space to prevent significant moving inner packaging outer packaging qualified for the use of transport with all the above conditions may also be used without testing of the transport inner package substitute with the original testing inner packages in accordance with the conditions set out in variation 1 paragraph G1 of the section variation 5 single package with the non-bulk packaging other than combination pack with the different for the tested design with the type only with the extent of the closure device for the gasketing differs from the original tested design type of the may be without further testing provided no equivalent level of performance maintained subject to the following conditions qualifying tip of the packaging replacement closure device gasket must be successfully passed drop the specifying 178.603 orientation must be severely tested for their integrity with the closure of the group with intent of the containment of the packaging the replacement of the closure device for the gasket successfully leak proof test specified 178.604 the hydrostatic pressure test and 178.605 the sacking test prescribed in 168 178.606 closure of the closure gasket and qualified with the above test requirements of the author of additional testing in the package described in G3 with the second requirement of the closure gap with the qualified or above the test requirement of the author of without the additional test differential test design type of the pack with the same type of the original testing quality packaging provided with the original design type test with the must severe with the comparable with the test which otherwise conduct with the packaging without the replacement closure gap for example the packaging with the qualifying lesser package with the wall thickening with the packaging with the replacement closure device for the gasket and gross amount for the packaging, either the qualifying drop test of the equal for the extent, exceed the commence for the greater for the package for the closure device for the gasket and test of the packaging, either the qualifying drop test for the drop of the same with the greater height with the head with which the packaging replacement of the closure with the device gasket was dropped at the end of the design type test for the specific gravity of substance for the qualifying drop test the same greater than the specific gravity liquid type of the design type of the packaging with the replacement closure device or gasketing the provision variation 1, 2, and 4 of the paragraph G1 and 2 and 4 of the section combination packaging applied with the package with the containing article the provision of the inner packaging applied with the analogously article within which the inner packaging need not to comply with 173.27 C1 and C2 with the subchapter approval selecting testing in addition with the provision 178.601 G1 and 2 G6 of the subchapter this subpart with the associated administrator of the main approval of the selective testing packaging the different only the manner of respect for tested for a steel drum capacity with a greater than 3 gallon with the manufacturer with the low carbon, the cold rolled steel metal meeting ASTM designations A366, A366M, and 568M, 568M variable variation elements other than the following designing elements for the conservative minor with the design construed constitute different from the design type of the different packaging with the defined in paragraph C with the section with the design qualification testing periodic retesting with the required many variations authorized without further testing include the container with the name of the supplier with the component with the material made with the same specification of the original manufacturer specification UN standard drums remanufactured change within one or more of the following design elements constitute the different type design type. Other packaging type of the category original drum and remanufactured I1A, 1A1, 1A2 with the side with the straight side with the taper with the except for the providing paragraphs 83 of the section rate with the marking past the outside dimensional physical state of which for the packaging was originally approved with the test installed with the liquid approved with the molecular level of the performance original drum the higher packaging group the hydrostatic test pressure for the specifying the gravity of the packaging has been type of the side being welding type of the seal with the increase the greater than temperature with the degree of the seal thick on the head and by with the bottom of each end of the seam triple or double seam the reduction number of the rolling hoop and ends of the B with the equal to exceed the diameter over the trim of the location type of the side of the material closure other than the cover the UN1A2 drum with the location from the head of the body and mechanically seam the weld flange of the material of the closure other than the cover of the UN1A2 drum the UN1A2 drum with the gasket material of the plastic property with the effect with the performance of the gasket forming dimension of the gasket closure ring with its own style with including with the bolt the side of the square round black of the 625 thousandths of an inch bolt closure ring thickness of the width of the lugs and extension of the crimp cover. Approval of equivalent packaging with the specification differs from the 178.504 through 523, but the part of the test is the method of the test intervals other than those specified in subpart M that is made with you with approval of the associated administrative packaging must show them to be equally effective with the testing method that must be the equivalent proof of the compliance with the notwithstanding with the periodic retest of the paragraph the E with the section associated administrative may anytime that would require demonstrate the compliance with by the manufacturer through the testing in accordance with the subpart packaging the meat for the requirements of subpart with the required with the associated administrator of the manufacturer shall either with the performance of the test and conducted by independent testing over the according with the subpart supply packaging the quantity of the sufficient to conduct the testing in accordance with subpart with the associated administrator and representative of the associated administrator coating in the inner treatment of the coating packaging is required with the safety brief of the manufacturer shall the design with the packaging with the treating with the coating retain with the protect with the properties with the after with the same with the same with the test of the prescribed and subpart with the number of the test samples except for the provided in section one of the test samples must be with the test each test performed under the start stainless steel drum provided with the validity of the test result of the non-effect of the person may perform the design with over the qualification testing stainless steel drum of the 3 samples rather than specified 18 samples with the following precision packaging must be tested in accordance with part with the subject with each of the 3 containing the following sequence of testing static testing of 178 606 for the leak proof testing of 178 604 with the static pressure hydrostatic pressure test for the 168 178 608 then on top chime with the flat on the side drop test 178 603 with the drop test might be conducted with a sample of the same sample. Periodic retesting stainless steel with the drum, the redo for the samples of the one container, authorized packaging, other stainless steel to provide with the validity to test the result of the non-effective several type of the may perform one sample to the with the approval associated work retention of each of the following design qualification. Each of the periodic retest of the packaging testing report must be prepared. Test report must be maintained with each of the location with the package is manufacturer certified with the design qualification testing periodic retest conducted as follows. And they show the test report must be made available to the packaging and the representative of the department upon the request of the test report with the minimum must contain the following information: name and address of the test facility, name and address of the applicant with appropriate unique testing report identification. The day of the testing report, the manufacturer of the packaging, description of the packaging, design, and dimension, material of the closure, and thickness, include the method of the manufacture, blowing, molding, which may include the drawing with the photograph of maximum capacity character for the test, concept of the viscosity, relativity, density, liquid, particular particle size of the cell of the test, description, result of the time of the name and the type of signature. All right, 178.602 preparation of the packaging for the packaging testing, except for the otherwise provided in the subchapter of the packaging must go over the preparation testing of the testing must carry it and the same with the air prepared with the transportation, including the inner packaging with the cave with the combination of the packaging of the rim chops and taffy testing cylinder unit receptacle. These bags must be filled not less than 95% of the maximum capacity. In this cave at the cell with not less than 98% of the maximum cave with the liquids containing the solids should be filled with the maximum method, but they will leave the material to transport with the packaging may be played with the non-hazard material except for the chemical compatibility testing, which will be invalidated result of the testing. And material will be transported or played with the test for purpose of the non-hazard. The material used must be the same and higher specific gravity. Material will carry with the other physical properties of the grain size of the cathode might be the influence of the result of the required test of the more corresponding closely possible over the hazard. Material with the transported water may also be used the liquid drop test on with the condition specified 178.603 E with the subpart of the permissible U with the addition with the stuff of the bags and lead shot with the edge with the requisite total pack with the so long as they play for the test result and not affected. Paper fiber board boxes must condition at least 24 hours immediately prior to the testing atmosphere to condition and maintain at 50% of the plus or minus 2% relative to the humidity temperature of the 20 degrees Celsius plus or minus 2 degrees Celsius of the average value of the shell fall with the limit for the short and fluctuation measurement of the limitation individual measurement to vary from up to plus or minus 5% relative to the humidity without significant impairment of reproducibility. 5% of the plus or minus 2% relative to the humidity temperature at 20 degrees Celsius plus or minus 2 degrees Celsius or 27 degrees plus or minus 2 degrees Celsius. The average value shows the fall within limits show short-term fluctuation measurement limitation made individual measurement made up to plus or minus 5% of the relative humidity without significant impairment of the test responsibility reproducibility. For testing periodic interval, the only other initial design qualification and condition except for the otherwise provided they either package the clove for the preparation of the testing the same manner with the prepared actual shipment. All closures must be installed using the proper techniques and torques. Among type of the barrels may be the natural wood must be left filled with water with at least 24 hours before the test. Part 178.603 job test. German the job test must be conducted with the qualification of the packaging design type of the performed periodically as specified. 178.601 the EV over the flat drop of the cylinder gravity of the test packaging must be vertically over the point of the impact with a more than orientation possible. The gravity and drop type of the orientation must be like with the result of the failure of the packaging must be made. The number of the drop required with the packaging orientation are as follows. For the test of the single part of the package for the construct for the single seal with an equal with the manual periodic interval other than the design qualification for the drop of the test may be the construct with the two sample of one sample with the two drops the warranty for the sample may have the previously with the hydrostatic pressure stacking test except for the number of the seal of aluminum other metal packaging sample with the conducting in the drop test the subject for the approval of the associated administrator. Special pepper with the temp sample with the drop test for the testing of the plastic drum plastic jerrycans plastic bottle other than the expand the polyester and polystyrene back for the composite packaging plastic material with a combination packaging plastic inner packaging of the plastic bags and 10 with the can liquid is the article to carry it out with the temperature for the test sample of the content of the 0 degrees Fahrenheit with the lower the test liquids may be kept with the liquid state with if necessary in addition to the antifreeze water antifreeze solution minimum specific gravity 0.95 the testing over the 0 degree Fahrenheit lower conserve the acceptable test liquid the test sample to prepare and where weigh are not required with the condition in accordance with 178.602D. The target must be rigid with the non-resilient flat horizontal surface. The drop height with the drop heights measured the vertical distance for the target lowest point with the package must be equal to greater than top of the drop height, but determine the file with the solid liquid of the test for the performance solid liquid the transported non-half of the material with the mass having essential same of the physical character of the drop height the mass determine according with the packaging group 1 5.9 feet with the packaging group 2 3.9 feet packaging group 3 2.6 feet with the liquids of the single pack with the inner packaging with the combination with the packaging testing is performed by the water material that we carry within specific gravity next ceiling 1.2 the drop height was determined in accordance with the paragraph groups of the packaging group 1 5.9 feet packaging group 2 3.9 feet packaging group 3 2.68 with the material that is transported with a specific gravity exceeding 1.2 with the drop height with the calculated with the base of the specific gravity the material over the carry to ground over the first decimal with the packaging group 1 is the spanning 1 specific gravity times 4.9 feet specific gravity 2 group packing group 2 specific gravity times 3.3 feet packaging group 3 point specific gravity points 2.2 feet with the criteria with the passing over the test for the consider the after the drop of each of the sample to have the packaging contain the liquid each of the packaging does not equilibrium reach the between the internal and external pressure for the except for the inner pack for the combination for the packaging when it does not enter for the pressure for the equalizer remove the head drum with the solid and the entire concept of the retain with the inner pack for the plastic bag with the even enclosure top head of the drum is no longer sight shift through for bag neither outermost ply nor the outer packaging exhibit any of the damage likely to adversely affect with the safety of it during the transport. Packaging outer pack for the composite the combination packaging must exhibit the damage with likely to affect with the safety to transport inner receptacle activating the article with retaining other packaging there that may no leak of the filling of the substance inner receptacle with the inner packaging any discharge of the closure site slight air received immediately after the impact with the further leak of the dome rupture permanent of the packaging with material class 1 would be permanent spillage loss of the explosive of the substance of the article from the outer package. 178.604 leak proofness test. The general leak proofness test must be performed with the crushed air with the other suitable gap with all other packaging in with the contained liquid except for the inner power subsequent with the composite and packaging there may be the test for the outer pack for the provided with the test result of non-effect for the test not record with the inner package for the combination pack the number of the packaging to be tested production testing of all the subject with the provision with the section must be tested must be leak proof before they first used in the transportation by prior review the authorization review the 178 17328 with subject design qualification periodic testing simply even the different testing match may be tested and pass leak proof testing exemption of the number of the sample with the conduction leak proof test and the substitute to approval of the associated administrator. Special preparation with the design qualification periodic test of the packaging must be tested enclosure within display for the production testing with the package that does not have the enclosure display for the removal of the design during the production testing. The testing closure and plate over the venting with it must be either plate with some of the non-bending closure of the vent must be sealed. The test method of the packaging must be restrained underwater while the internal air pressure is applied with the method of the restraining non-effect with the result of the test must be conducted with the other than the productive test with a minimum time of the 5 minutes for the other method to leave the equal effective with the may with the corner of the packaging to be of this section. This part pressure applied with the internal air pressure must be applied within the packaging. Indicating the following packaging group 1 not less than 30.4 psi, packaging group 2 3 psi, packaging group 3 not less than 3 psi. Criteria passing of the test of the packaging less than there is no pack leakage in the air of the packaging. 178605 hydrostatic pressure test. General hydrostatic pressure test must be conducted the qualification metal plastic the composite for the packaging design type of the containing liquid performed periodically specified 178.601E with the test of the required with the interpackaging combination pack the internal pressure requirement of the interpacks the combination of the packaging intent with the transportation aircraft 173.27C with the subchapter of the number of the test samples the retest samples required with each of the different pack with the packaging construct with the stainless steel with the mountain with the nickel and one sample required with the periodic retesting pack with the exemption for the number of aluminum steel with a single pack with the sample packaging with the conduct of the hydrostatic pressure for the test for the subject of approval of the associated administrator. Special preparation of receptacle for the testing venting ensure for the closure of the either replaced with a similar non-vented closure of the vent must be sealed. Two methods over the pressure for the apply with the method apply packaging over the class of the packaging the other plastic of the glass porcelain somewhere include these closure must be the test pressure for the 5 bins for the plastic packaging the composite packaging plastic material include closure must be shipped to have the pressure over the 30 minutes of the pressure for this one with the mark for the with 178.503A5 with the receptacle and support of the man that does not invalidate the test. The test pressure must be applied with continuously within evenly and it must be kept with the constant throughout the test period. Additional packaging to the container that has material packaging group 1 must be tested. The minimum testing pressure for the 36 psi hydraulic pressure J for the apply with the taken on the top of the shuffle determined by aim with the following method not less than locate the pressure for the measure for the packaging the vapor pressure for the filling material partial pressure for the air other than an air gap of 100 kPa the 131 degrees Fahrenheit multiplied with the safety factor of 1.5 the total gave the pressure determined out of the base for the maximum degree of the filling the corn's 173.24 AD with the subchapter the filling temperature of 59 degrees Fahrenheit, no less than 1.75 times the vapor pressure for the 122 degrees Fahrenheit with the material transport with the 15 psi with the minimum test pressure for the 15 psi gauge, no less than 1.5 times the vapor with the 131 degrees Fahrenheit material transported and 15 psi with the minimum test pressure of the 15 psi gauge. The packaging intent of the containment that has with the material of the packaging group 1, it must be set for the minimum test pressure for the 250 kPa cell with the crater passing with the test with the pack with the hydrostatic with the each for the test sample and no leakage from the package. 178.606. Stacking tip of the general all package and type of other than bags must be subject to the testing and stacking tip of the test sample to 3 steps. Samples are required with each for the different packages with the periodic sample. Retesting the packaging construct with the stainless steel, vinyl, nickel, and only one type of the sample required with the exception of the number of the aluminum steel sample. The package with the definite stacking tip of the subject with the parable with the associated administrator, notwithstanding with the provision 178.602 with the subpart combination of the packaging subject with the stacking testing within the interpackaging acceptable would invalidated result of the test of the design qualification test sample that must be subject with the force applied with the top of the surface of the test sample equivalent total weight identical pack with it might be stacked within during the transportation of the content of the test sample and non-has the liquid is specific gravity driven from the liquid the transport of the force of the calculated based on the specific gravity it will mark for the packaging the minimum height of the stack include the test sample with the 10 feet with the duration of the test sample 24 hours except for the plastic drum jerrycans over the 6 AH and 10 with the liquid the subject with the test specifically stacking to the periodic 28 day at the temperature of not less than 104 degrees alternative test method of yield equivalent result that may be with the associated administrator in the guide loaded test of static stability must be a step of completion. The test plate for the 2 fill with the packaging with the same type of the testing sample the stack pad for the main team of the position with the 1 hour with the plastic packaging may be cool with the ambient temperature before stacking stability. Assessment periodic retesting testing sample must conform with section 178.606C1 with the subchapter or the packaging may be used in dynamic compression test of the machine with the test must be conducted with room temperature empty with the unless sealed and packaged with the testing seam that must be served or with the bottom of the plate and with the testing machine the top plate with it must be lowered until it comes in contact with the test sample. The compression must be applied with the end of the spread the speed of the compression tester over the 1/2 inch plug for the minus 1/4 of an inch per minute. The initial preload of the 50 pound must be applied to ensure the defined contact between the last 2 samples. The platens, the distance between the platens at the time must be recorded with a 0 deformation of the A with the applied with must be calculated using this formula and ensure the formula criteria with the pathing the test and the sample and immediately with a composite composition back with a combination packagings. There must be no leakage of the film with the subsequent inner pack with no sample test sample to show any deterioration could have actually affected the safety, any distortion likely to reduce the strength of the cause, and instability of the stack of the package, the color of the damage, the impact likely to reduce the safety of the transportation, dynamic compression, test of the committing path of the testing, test if the after application will cover the there's no buckling inside wall sufficient cover the damage of the wall sufficient to cover the damage expected for the quote unquote times if there's no cave with the maximum deflection exceeds 1 inch. 178.07. Cooperage testing of the bone type of the wind barrels. Number of the sample of the one barrel with the each for the different inspector. The method testing remove over the hoops over the visual over the empty barrel at least 2 days old. Criteria for the packaging test. The packaging path for the cooperage test only with the diameter of the cross section over the upper tip of the part of the barrel does not increase with more than 10%. 178.608. Vibration standard. Each packaging must compare with the wood sample without the rupture leak with the vibration test. Receive the outline specified and the defect of the test method is resample the packaging test and select for the brain must be filled with the closure and shipment of the resample must be played with the vibration platform head with the vertical rotary double amplitude peak to peak displacement 1 inch for the packaging should be constrained with the horizontal to prevent them from falling off of the platform. The most for the left 3 with the more move vertically bound with the rotate. The depth must be formed with the 1 hour with the frequency of the cover of the package of the rate with the vibration platform. The sum of the degree of the peak of the material approximately 1.6 millimeters thickness and such for the steel of the drafting paperboard box the path between the bottom of the end of the package of the platform immediately following the period of the vibration and the package of the brief remove the platform turn with the side of the preserve with the evidence of the leak of the leak least equally effective may be even improved with the associated administrator. Criteria for passing the test: the package must be the vibration temperature. There is no rupture or leak of the aim of these packages. No samples should be able to deterioration could cover the adversely affect the transportation safety and distortion liable to reduce the package strength. 178.609. The testing requirement of the package of the infectious substance. The sample of the packaging of the mode prepared with the testing described in paragraph B of the section and then subject to the testing in paragraph D and through I of the section. Samples of each of the packaging prepared with the transport except the liquid and solid of infectious substance should be required. Replace by water or weather conditioning at 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Specified water antifreeze. The primary receptacle must be filled with 98% of the capacity. Packaging live animals should be tested live. The animal being replaced with the appropriate anatomy and similar mass. Packaging with prepared with the transport with the subject with the test in table 1 paragraph C with the test purpose the categories packed with the corner with the material character with the other package with the head with the tank with the table 1 with the relative with the relate to the fiberboard sample of the materials when the performance must be rapidly effective with the moisture with the plastic with the brittle when the low temperature with the other material the metal with the performance is not significantly affected with the moisture with the temperature with the primary receptacle with the secondary packaging with the inner packaging are made with the different material of that primary receptacle determine the appropriate instant of the primary receptacle with made with one or more of the material is likely to damage determine the appropriate test. Samples may be subject to the free fall with the drop of the original leading on resilient flat horizontal surface with 30 feet with the drops may be formed with the found with the box same of the with the shape of the bottom of the 5 samples that must be dropped with each of the one of the following orientation: flat on the base, flat on the top, flat on the longest side, flat on the short side, one on the corner. Where the samples are in the shape of the drum, the tree samples drop within one of each of the following orientation diagonally with the top of the shim of the center with the gravity directly above the point of the impact, diagonally on the base of the shim, flat on the side, flat when the sample should be relieved. The required orientation is susceptible to aerodynamic reasons. Impact may not take place in the orientation following the appropriate drop of the sequence of no leak with the primary receptacles, which should be remain with the protectively absorbent material with secondary packaging. Sample must be subjected water spray stimulate with the exposure rainfall of approximately 2 inches per hour with at least 1 hour that must be the subject with the test described in paragraph D of this section. F there must be containment of the atmosphere with 0 degrees Fahrenheit with the period of less than 24 hours with a 15-minute of the removal of the atmosphere subject with the test described in paragraph D of the section where the sample the dry in addition period with may reduce to 4 hours with the G with when the packaging temperature contains dry ice at least and the tested addition will specify paragraph D and E with the F the section must be carried out. One sample must be stored all of the dry ice dissipate through the subject with the test in paragraph the D of the section. A for the paragraph the gross weight with 15 pound with less should be subject with the test described in paragraph H1 of the section. Packaging with the gross weight exceeding 15 pound with the test per paragraph H2 of the section. One sample to be played level the hard surface with the cylinder steel rod with a mass of 15 pound with a diameter with not exceeding 1.5 inch of the length of the edge of the radius and not exceeding 2/10 of an inch. There must be equipped with a vertical free fall with a height of 3 feet with a measure for the impact with the end of the sample. Impacts for the one sample that must be played on the base. The second sample that must be played with the orientation perpendicular that even in first of it used for the each instant of the steel rod must be aimed with the impact with the primary receptacle for a successful test. There must be no leak of the primary receptacle following the impact with the sample to provide the drop cylinder or steel rod that must be vertically with its level of the hard for the surface must have the diameter of the 1/2 inch of the radius not exceeding 2/10 of an inch of the upper end of the rod must be protruded with the surface of the distance of the least equal between the primary receptacle and the outer surface with outer packaging with a minimum of 7.9 inches for the edge of the one sample that must drop at the vertical, 3 with the fall with the height of the 3 feet, measuring with the top of the seal drop at the second sample that must drop within the same height with the orientation perpendicular to the fur for the each of the end sample. The packaging must be successful test. There must be 3 packs of the primary reciprocal following each pack variation. The following variation of the primary reciprocal within the secondary packaging level with additional depth component with the package of the equivalent level of performance must be maintain the variation. One primary receptacle with equivalent smaller size with the compared with the test primary receptacle with the provide meet all of the following conditions. Primary receptacles are a similar design tested primary receptacle shape of the round rectangular. The material constructed with the primary receptacle is glass, plastic, metal, other resistant impact with the stacking of the force equal to greater than the original tested primary receptacle. Primary receptacle have the same and smaller opening with the closure of the similar design screw or cap, friction, limited lid, etc. Sufficient additional cushioning to the fill the void space to prevent significant movement of the primary receptacle. And primary receptacles are on tape with the intermediate packaging. The same manner with the test with the package with the variation to the least number of the test of the primary receptacle. The alternative is if the type of the primary receptacle identified in paragraph Y1 of the section may be used to provide sufficient cushioning with the edge of the void space for preventing significant movement of the primary receptacle variation. 2 primary receptacle any type of the plate with the section secondary pack with the chip without with the testing outer packaging provide the following conditions. Secondary outer pack with the combination for the successfully tested in accordance with paragraph A through H for the section of the all glass inner receptacle. Total combined gross weight of the inner receptacle being exceeded with 1/2 of the gross weight of the inner receptacle with the drop test in paragraph D of the section. Thickness of the cushioning of the material will be the inner receptacle between the inner receptacle and the outer side of the secondary packaging may be not reduced below the corresponding thickness as originally tested with packaging in single inner receptacle will be used in original testing. Thickness cushioning between the inner receptacle must be not left within the thickness of the cushioning between the outside of the secondary impact of the inner receptacle and the original test. Either with the fewer or smaller the inner receptacle is added to the compared inner receptacle, you would drop sufficient additional cushioning material that may be used to fill the void. The outer packaging must pass the static end test for the 178.606 with the M2 with the total weight with the identical pack with it must be used in the combined balance for the inner receptacle. You would drop test paragraph D of this section. Inner receptacle is named liquid, adequate quantity of the absorption material that must be presented with the absorbed entire liquid accounts of the inner receptacle. I for the outer package, the intent of the containment of the inner package is for liquid is no leak proof of the intent of the containment of the inner receptacle. Solid stiff proof with me with the containing liquid is solid concept of the event with leakage provided with it can become leak proof of a plastic bag of their equal effect of me with the contaminant. In addition for the market that requires the 178.5035F with the subchapter that must be with the letter U. Subpart N, IBC performance orientated standards.